This is not a test.
Hello, my friends. The second season of Reiwa Kamen Rider debuted this week with Kamen Rider Saber. Let's talk about it. We open up this episode with the bubble world, as I will be calling it, and we zoom in on a cottage, and then we go into like this snow globe view of the cottage, and we are introduced to Tassel, who kind of narrates the show. He sets up a bunch of stuff, and then he'll close out the episode at the end. He is incredibly over-designed to just be the narrator. I 100% believe that he will be the final boss. I'm placing that theory down now. He's going to be the final boss, because Saber and friends will realize that they are in fact fictional, and Tassel wants to keep their story as it is, but our main writer Toma is going to decide the ending of the story, because that is his catchphrase, is that this story is his to decide. So we get introduced to him. We see that a very young Toma was saved during a monster battle in Bubble World by a previous person holding the Saber Seiken. But that some little girl got sucked into a portal, and then he wakes up in his bookstore. He owns a bookstore for little kids. It's very nice looking. I enjoy it as a set piece and as the main base, because it's very different from past seasons' main headquarters. Though I guess it does somewhat look like the clock shop from G.O. From there, he, starts reading a story to some kids. We don't get a title sequence. We just get the logo, so no title fight or the actual intro song. I was at least expecting us to get a title fight, because I do love them, but no dice, just the logo and right on into the episode. And he's telling these kids the story of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, and I really enjoy the art style, like the art that they do during this, because they have a very nice, drawn art style of, they're wearing costumes, but it's actually just the drawings around Toma and the kids. But they open Sesame up the rock in front of the wall, and out pops Mai, who is Toma's editor for the serialized novels that he writes, and she is annoying. I do not like her so far. I hope they change my mind, but right now she is very shouty, and I don't really enjoy her that much. We get some exposition about how much Toma values promises, and how much importance he places on them, to the point that then he goes out and closes up shop to go and deliver a book to a kid. At this point, our big bad guy for right now, Caliber, and his cronies, Caliber hands one of his associates a blank Wonder Ride book and a Gollum Wonder Ride book. Associate guy then goes out and creates a monster using the evil book and gives them the blank one. Basically, the book is going to become corrupted as we go, and if it gets fully corrupted, they get to rewrite the world how they see fit. I think is how it is. They didn't really explain it all that well. That's just kind of how I'm interpreting it. The monster goes on a rampage. We get this really interesting look of the book rising out of the ground when he opens the blank book, and it teleports everybody that's inside of this giant book that encompasses a part of the city into Bubble World. And so Toma and the kid and Mai get separated from the kid's parents, and they're all worried. Mai takes a bunch of pictures in Bubble World because she's like, oh my gosh, it's a CGI dragon! Wow! Those photos get corrupted or deleted by the end of the episode, and so she doesn't actually have any proof of this happening. But Toma promises the kid that he is going to get him back to his parents no matter what. And that's a very nice sentiment. We're also introduced to Mysterious Blue Guy, because we don't actually get his name, but he has the Lion Senki book, and he is going to turn out to be Kamen Rider Blades. That's not a spoiler. It's in the end for the next episode. It's pretty obvious that he's going to be. He even has his own sword driver already, so I don't think it's a spoiler too much. But he rushes into the book world, and they've got this really cool page-turning effect of like, oh, he's slowly getting his pages turned into him being in the book world, or in Bubble World. And so that's actually a really cool effect. Most of the effects are fine. We'll get into some stuff that I didn't like later. I also like the bubbles, I just think that it's funny that they went with bubbles as how do we distinguish it from the real world, aside from big CGI trees and stuff. Toma also already has the Brave Dragon Wonder Ride book. He had that since the beginning of the episode pretty much, and he just kind of messes around with it. But he starts trying to stand up to the golem monster. He gets thrown around and crushed like a ton of bricks under a bunch of rubble, proving that the writer of Ghost cannot go in a first episode without killing his main writer before they henshin. But obviously the Wonder Ride book casts all the rocks away and he's alive! Wow, yay! He goes on. The book opens and it summons a giant flaming dragon. And the giant flaming dragon crashes back down into the ground to become a sword. And Blue Guy goes, no regular human could pick up that sword. And Toma immediately picks up that sword, meaning we've got a prophecy. He also does explicitly state, oh, when bad guys turn up again, the red saber will appear. Ooh. So we've got a chosen one in Toma. That's appreciated. But he picks it up. He puts on the driver. He's got a stock footage henshin. I'm not against it. I like it when we get in-person and like on-set transformations instead. But his actual henshin is fine. It's not bad. It's not the best henshin I've ever seen. But we get the debut of Saber's base form. I don't like it. It's not terrible. I like what it's going for. I really like the 3 books and the driver. I like that it's split up vertically for once. But the dragon head on his right arm is just too goofy looking, and it messes up the balance of the suit. The left side looks great if it was just both the left side as his base form and maybe like invert the colors on the opposite side. I would actually be much happier with that. I also hate that it's only got the long coat on the right side in the base form. I love the long coats, don't get me wrong. They are my favorite aesthetic for riders. But it should have been on both sides because it continues the off-balancing of the suit. And then he's got big horn sticking out of his head, and it's just too big. It's too big. It makes it look like that should be a weapon that he uses. Like he should just swing his head around and try and beat people up with it. And that's not... I don't think that's what they're going for. If we see it happen, I will tell you, and I will be like, never mind. He used the horn on his head as a weapon. But overall, it's not a terrible design. It's definitely not the worst base form I've seen. But it's not great. But then Saber fights off the monster, and we momentarily go into this entirely CGI world, and it does not look good. It looks like it came out of a PS2 game. That is not a compliment. But it's done in pretty quickly, and we're back to the actual, it's the bubble world still. And we get his finisher. It's not a rider kick, which I was kind of expecting. He is based around a sword. A slash makes sense for his finisher. I still like rider kicks though. But he destroys the monster. The bubble world goes back to being normal. The Toma reunites the kid with his parents, and then they go back to his bookstore so that Toma can write out the next novelization so that Mai can hang out with her friends the next day. Just as Toma hands Mai the finished transcript, mysterious blue guy, Blades, shows up, riding on a blue lion. And that's our teaser for next episode, but we're not quite done yet. because Tassel finishes stuff off and we find out that he is in Bubble World. He does exist in the Bubble World. He steps outside the cottage. And he talks a lot about fate and just really pushes my theory that he's going to be the final villain. And then we get an ending dance. Now, I know that a lot of Rider fans aren't particularly enthused about the end dance and its placement there because they're just like, oh, they're just turning Rider into being more Sentai-like. And to an extent, I get it. But ending dances are not exclusive to Super Sentai. And overall, I think that it is an interesting concept to have in Kamen Rider. We haven't had an actual end theme of any kind since Hibiki. The only problem I have with it is the execution. Because it's not a particularly inspiring song. It's a weird song. I don't particularly enjoy it as a song. And then the dancing is fine. It's just kind of there. It's not really inspiring or uplifting. It's definitely not as good as Kira Major's Kirafudu Miracle Kira Major dance, because that is a bop and I am yet to skip it when I'm watching an episode of Kira Major. Also, when Toma's writing the final page of the transcript, we start hearing the main theme of the show, not during the fight, in the epilogue. Almighty sounds decent. It's not a bad song. Again, my whole thing with this first episode is, it's not bad, it's just there. It feels very stale and run-of-the-mill, which feels weird for a first episode. I'm interested to see where it goes. I love some of the designs that I know we're gonna be getting, and Calibur's design is a great villain suit, even if I think that his horn is also too big. Overall, it's an interesting first episode. I am intrigued to see where it will go, and I will continue watching it throughout all of its goods and bads that we will get with it. And I will make videos for you guys. But, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. Overall, if I were to give it a grade, I'd give it a solid B-. Not bad, but with lots of room for improvement. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. I know that this is the first video that I'm ever putting out, but, you know, YouTube stuff. Hooray. See you guys next time.